Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, February 18th, 2024, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Now Mind You podcast. All right, this is episode 102 Combat, and I'm your host. I'm TJ, I'm Matt, and I'm Bryce. No. Hey, scheduling conflicts happen, right? And right now, all y'all got is me today, which I know you may not like that, just me, but it's what it is. Matt and Bryce should be back with me next week. But that's why there are three of us, right? There's always at least one of us to hold it down. With that being said, as far as the docket is concerned, today I will be covering UFC 298, Volkanovski versus Topuria, which took place at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, which was last night as of this recording, right? I'll be covering the main card, so that means we'll go over Hernandez versus Kopylov, the Wallace Uili versus Cejudo, Neal versus Machado Gary, Whitaker versus Costa, and then of course we'll get into the main event, which was Volkanovski versus Topuria. Let's just kick it off with that middleweight bout. And for what it's worth, um, this was like mad middleweight heavy inside of this card. There were like two middleweight fights, one welterweight fight, one bantam and one feather. But we had Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov, which right off the bat got a performance of the night bonus for, spoiler alert, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Now, Roman Kopylov took this fight last minute, right? Which is always a gamble. I forget who Fluffy's original opponent was to be in this fight, but this is what I'll say. Roman Kopylov is good. He is really good. Striking wise, the dude knows how to utilize his tools, but Anthony Hernandez is no slouch. Also, like, what was the deal with um the Count Michael Bisping, like trying to praise Hernandez, but he's like, he's got no great natural attributes. He's not the hardest hitter. It's like, bro, are these compliments? What are you what are you doing, dog? Like it was like I had to turn the commentary off at some point because it was just like I know what he was trying to say is like, yo, this dude, it like you could have just said he's a hard worker. You didn't have to be like he's got no natural attributes or he's not the hardest hitter. It's like, bro, okay. But with that being said, man, Anthony Hernandez controlled this fight through and through. In fact, I want to say in the first round, he pretty much dropped Kopylov. I want to say it was with a left. No. I might be confusing that with the second bout, but he was basically giving Roman Kopylov problems this whole time. In fact, what he managed to do, which no one has done thus far, like for one, Kopylov hit a personal record of 20 consecutive takedowns being defended in his whole UFC career, right? But soon after, Anthony Hernandez was able to secure a takedown, I believe, in round one and round two. Ultimately, what ended up happening was Hernandez, Fluffy took Kopylov down and then started working to his back. And then we just saw something. For one, Anthony Hernandez is a wild boy. The faces he was making at college, was like, oh, you think you got me? Nah, sticks his tongue out, etc. Like showing a little bit of showmanship, a little bit of attitude, making the fight entertaining. But for two, bro, that like when he got to Kopylov's back and then started securing the rear naked choke the first time, it looked like it was too loose. Then, even with Kopylov controlling Fluffy's hands, Fluffy somehow got it tighter. Kopylov survives this. He tries to roll out of it. In fact, at one point, I think when Fluffy first took like Kopylov's back, I was like, Kopylov, just Granby roll, just roll out of that shit, which is oftentimes quite the defense, right? When someone's about to take your back, they don't have hooks in yet. Maybe they're just like, seat belting around you. You can kind of, or if they just have like their hands in like a referee situation where they're monitoring your hips, you can kind of Granby roll out of that, get back up to your feet and take the fight back up to standing. But I digress, right? So the second time Fluffy gets him in the rear naked choke, this time this shit is looking mad tight. In fact, I thought Kopylov was going out, but he somehow survives it. Then the third time he cinches it hard, and like you just see Anthony Hernandez tongue is like, oh, he ain't getting out of this one, baby. He ain't getting out of this one. Sure enough, Kopylov taps Strong ass win for Anthony Hernandez. He stays in the top 15. Roman Kopylov, I don't think his story ends here, right? I think it's his first L that he's taken since jumping into the UFC. Again, that is the gamble when you don't have a full camp and you're taking a fight last minute. He had a decent performance, but that was definitely not the best version of Kopylov that we have seen. So I think he's going to come back. Round two, I should say, bout number two at bantamweight, we had Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. Merab representing Georgia, fighting out of Cerro Longo MMA, close friend of Aljamain Sterling. Bro, this is what I'm gonna say. Henry Cejudo, he's accomplished a lot in the sport of MMA and combat sports and martial arts in general. What being an Olympian in wrestling, a feather, was it flyweight and bantamweight champ, right? At some point, then retiring. I will say his fight against Aljo last year was mad close, but this is what I'm going to say about Merab Dvalishvili, right? I personally feel that if him and Aljamain Sterling were not friends, and I was talking, shout out to Kyle, shout out to my boy Kyle, and shout out to Matt and Bryce on this too. But I feel like if they weren't friends, Merab would have already been champ. Bro, this was like, okay, aside from round one, where Cejudo was like, hey, put some respect on my name and hit him with that left hook, bro, this was one-way traffic. Like, this is the extent to which Merab just outperformed Henry Cejudo. And I think I was texting my boy Kyle. I said, Merab by cardio, right? Like Mark Zuckerberg was in the crowd. Merab, for one, Merab double leg an Olympic gold medal wrestler, not once, twice, maybe even three times. For two, Merab was so comfortable with this that he was straight up having a conversation with Mark Zuckerberg, who was in the crowd while threatening Henry Cejudo with a nasty guillotine. For two, he double legs Henry Cejudo but doesn't like finish it, right? He gets Henry Cejudo up onto his shoulders, carries this man across the octagon, slams him in front of Mark Zuckerberg. Bro, like I don't even know. This was such a dominant performance. I'm surprised he didn't get a bonus, but at this point, let's line Merab up for the winner of Cheeto versus O'Malley, right? Like that seems to be the logical next step. And as far as Henry Cejudo goes, I mean, in the post or in the pre-fight teaser leading up to this that they played right before the bout, he was saying like, if I can't beat Merab, I might as well hang it up. So what you about to do? And then the other weird thing is I heard about this on another podcast, but like he actually fired his coach, right? His main coach, Eric El Capitan, or the dude who always has the extravagant glasses, right? The extravagant eyewear. He fired him as his head coach. So ooh, like right before this bout was set to go on. So I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what goes on with Cejudo. Next up, welterweight, we had Jeff Neal versus Ian Machado Gary. Okay, Ian Gary. I'm not going to get into it on this podcast, like what all the controversy is around Ian Gary. But needless, I had no beef with him up until the Magny bout. I didn't like the way he tried to portray Neil Magny. It's like that everyone knows that that's not who Neil Magny is, whoever he was saying that was, and he was just trying to make something out of nothing. It was weird. Uh, but needless to say, I think no one has beef with the way Ian Machado Gary performs in his fights. I think everyone can agree that he is a fantastic fighter, knows how to use his range and his tools, but something about the way he conducts himself is very cringe. He's trying to be McGregor, but it's not McGregor, right? Anyway, I've said too much. Hands of Steel, Jeff Neal, bro. This was a hard one to watch because obviously I was rooting for Jeff Neal. We root for everybody black, goes without saying, right? Um, but it's like Jeff Neal was finding a way to get past the range of Ian Gary to get to the inside and play his game. But instead of I want to say instead of like doubling down on his strategy of like, all right, I'm gonna hit him with my heavy shots now. He would get in, hit him with the heavy shots, and then clinch. And so all the momentum he built, all the work he did to get to the inside would just come to a standstill when really hitting, he should have been hitting Ian more, right? So it's like Ian ended up being the busier fighter at long range, right? Hitting with the leg kicks, with the head kicks, that like Ian kept on fucking finding a home for his right knee on Jeff Neal's face. It was a weird one. I I'm surprised it was a split decision. Well, I guess Jeff Neal had some good rounds too, but it was a weird one. It was a weird one and harder one to watch because I was like, Jeff Neal, bro, why are you just clinching with him now? This is where you're supposed to be laying down the hurt, right? Um, Next up, middleweight, we had Robert Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles, right? The Reaper against Paulo Costa, Mr. Secret Juice himself. Now, this is Paulo Costa's first fight since coming off of elbow surgery. So, people were wondering, it's like, all right, does he have it? Is there ring rust? Then Bobby Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles, coming off of his KO loss to Dricus du Plessis, right? Which everyone was surprised by, right? Um, I mean, Robert Whitaker won. He played the smarter game plan, but Costa had his moments. Like there was that, like literally at the end of round one, it's like, oh shit, he put Bobby Knuckles on spaghetti legs, and had the round continued a little bit longer, it could have been a wrap. But listen, Robert Whitaker is that dude for a reason. He's a former middleweight champ for a reason. He put that hurt on Paulo Costa, man. It's just what it is. It was a resounding victory for Robert Whitaker, well-deserved victory, and it's good. It's good to see him in the W lane once again. All right, main event, featherweight title bout, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Damn. Uh, yeah, you can tell by my tone. It's an and you, not an and still, y'all. This got performance of the night now. Ilya came in with the confidence. He was like, it's gonna be a round one finish. Well, he was off by a round. And this I'll give you guys some context, right? So it's been hard for me to stay up lately to watch like all the UFC bouts, especially during the pay-per-view, because they just end so late. So I ended up rewatching it this morning around like 5, 6 a.m. And I saw the time, the length of the video underneath is like, oh, it's only like 27 minutes or so for a 5 round bout. I was like, oh, someone got finished. And boy, was I right. So Alexander Volkanovski's got really good hand speed, really good defense, to the point where we've seen in previous fights, he's made people like Max Holloway, people like the Korean Zombie look super slow. He made them look like newbies compared to him. That was not the case with Ilia Topuria. For one, I thought Volkanovski had a decent strategy. All right, let's attack him with the leg kicks. If you want to punch, if you want to do anything, you still need legs, you still need to be able to move, you still need to be able to shift weight. So he was like attacking him with leg kicks, and I want to say some decently strong leg kicks for that matter. And it was like, I hate to say it, but there was a strength differential because when Volkanovski would leg kick Topuria, didn't make a difference, right? Topuria was like, that's crazy anyway. When Topuria leg kicked Volkanovski, he almost swept him off his feet. And within a matter of minutes, you started seeing a welt forming around Volkanovski's lead leg. Uh, Volkanovski's footwork was still really good, but Topuria was never really chasing Volkanovski like that. He was really doing a good job of cutting off the octagon. So round one was like, some of the Twitter comments that were aired on the screen were like kind of 50-50 split in between, was it for Volk or was it for Topuria? Round two, Topuria leaned in with his controller, bro. He was like, all right, well, I'm not just gonna let you use that side to side forward. I'm gonna push you all the way to the cage. And sure enough, mink mink, Volk was out. And we have a new champ, bro. That was it. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of, I don't want to say it's the end of an era, but it's like two back-to-back KO losses for Volk. albeit two different weight classes, and no one's disputing the work that Volkanovski has done. But like, man, Father Time is undefeated. He's older now. You're dealing with someone in Topuria who's like hungry for this, and it was a knockout. It's not up for debate whether or not he finished Volkanovski. Like, it wasn't a decision. This was a knockout win. He took that belt from him. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. Congratulations to Topuria. But we'll see where Volkanovski goes from here. I would suggest that he takes just a year off, but we know that he struggles on the mental tip when he's not training for something. So it's going to be interesting to see what the future holds for him. I wish him well. I hope he gets some help for the mental side of things, because that's going to be rough, but he owes his body a chance to properly heal. Because even if you look at the time from when he won against Makhachev for the second time now, I don't think that was enough time for him to truly heal from that knockout loss. But I'm not making excuses for him. But I'd like to see some time off for him, 100%. With that, this will bring episode 102 Combat to a close. As far as the UFC goes, what we have to look forward to next week is going to be UFC Fight Night in Mexico, right? So Ciudad de Mexico, I believe this is going to be in Mexico City, Ciudad de Mexico Arena. Moreno versus Royval 2. So we'll be covering that, of course, next week. As always, thank you all so much for giving this a listen. Thank you for every listen, every view, every share, word of mouth, every interaction, whether it be through comments, likes, etc. It helps us out a ton. And on behalf of my teammates and myself, thank you. You can find us on any podcast distribution platform. All you need to do is look up Now Mind You Podcast. Whereas for social media, all you have to do is look up Now Mind You Pod or Now Mind You Podcast. Typically, it's going to be at Now Mind You Pod on everything. NOWMINDYUPOD. And of course, if you go onto our Instagram bio, there's a link to our flow page, which contains the links to everything. And of course, there's a link to our YouTube channel as well. You can find me on Instagram at Tuss4Skate. That's TUSS4_SKATE. You can find Matt on damn near everything at Matt Hambrick. That's MATTHAMBRIC. And you can find Bryce on Instagram at Ashe Onsa. That's AXE_ONCA. And as Bryce would say, Bay Bay. Thank you all so much. Have a great week and stay safe out there. Peace.